welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight I've got some great guests for you, and we shall be talking about the Southampton game. We covered it a bit Sunday, but we're going a little bit more in depth today. We'll be talking about Ange's future, possible managers to take over from him. We'll talk about Paratici. We'll do a preview of Frankfurt at home. And obviously we'll take questions from the chat and answer any questions you've got. It's good that we've got 8 of you viewing us at the moment. I don't really have it on XCOM. I'll just have a look. Because we have got Champions League football, but it's not going to stop us doing Tuesday shows, right? Because we like you, the viewers, to get used to the times we go out there. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to the guests. We'll start with James. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm grand. Thank you for having me on again. Lovely to join you. Should be an excellent conversation. And
Dan, is it you're a debutant, aren't you? First time on us, is it? Dan, are you there?
I was on before. Yeah, I was on before.
All right. Okay. All right. How are you? All right?
I come about 3-4 months ago. Yeah, I'm good, mate. All good. Big everybody else on the panel as well.
And Blaine from we'll have to post his channel. Actually, I didn't get your link up. And Blaine is Super Spurs TV.
Yeah. Glad to be back on after a few weeks hiatus for work. So always a pleasure, Adrian.
Okay, well, we'll move straight into it. We get a win to talk about, right? Okay, so I'll start with the guys down the bottom. James, when you see the team, happy with the lineup?
Yeah, pretty happy. More or less, that is arguably, aside from Davies for VDV, that is arguably the strongest 11 we have. I mean, you could argue Johnson or, Tell or Odegaard, whatever. But, it's a very strong lineup. And also resting Mickey for, Thursday. So,
and
very happy with that. And Kulu, yeah. Depending on how fit he is.
Yeah. Dan, did you think this was a bit of a strong lineup? Did you think he might have rested a couple of these in? I did.
Yeah, I thought he was just a couple, but it was Southampton as well. A big game against Frankfurt on Thursday. I thought he would at least make 4 or 5 more changes, and that line. Because I swear it's Southampton, so just respect to Southampton, but we could have got away with making more changes and probably still got a result. But maybe he wanted to relieve a bit of pressure off himself because he had a couple bad results recently. He just wanted to get a win going into the Frankfurt game, so he wanted to play as strong as possible. Really. Well, strong. Leave out a couple players, play as strong as possible, team possible to get the win. Getting some sort of momentum going to the third game. That's probably what he's hoped to try and aim for.
Blaine, I know you was busy, so you only had to watch the highlights. But on the lineup itself, did you think it was a strong lineup? Did you think he could have rested a couple? Or?
I think we knew from his pre-press conference that he was going to do a bit of rotation. I am a bit disappointed that Gray didn't start over Bentancur, personally. After having such a long run in the sides, he's been, warm on the bench last couple of games, which disappointing. But it's pretty much you.
I mean, I've got to be honest. To see the lineup, I thought he'd rest Son. Definitely thought he'd rest Son and Maddison. Because they're the two you sort of think you're going to save for a big game, really. Make sure they are definitely fresh. So they've got no excuses. In the back four, Davies, there was a rumour. We knew VDV probably not going to risk him. Romero's got a lot of minutes. He played 180 minutes for Argentina, which he needed. Some fans complained about it, but hang about, he needed the time on his legs. You can't have it both ways. Just because he's playing for Argentina, you can't castigate him for that because he did need those minutes in his leg. Davies, when does he ever have a bad game for Spurs anyway? So anyway, we'll move on to the subs and then we'll talk about the game. Strong bench, James?
Yeah, surprisingly, we actually seem to have quite a decent quantity of depth these days, funnily enough, which was a major issue for us at the beginning of the season and sort of now, where we don't have too many injuries. You've got Kinski, good backup keeper, Udogie, maybe should have started. Gray, shame he didn't get any minutes. VDV, our best centre-back. Bissouma, so, good strong bench. And to be fair, on Son, he did start, but he only played 55, 56 minutes, something like that. So actually, he played an hour.
He made his 450th appearance for Spurs against Southampton.
Blimey. Well, good game to do it against. So he is kind of rested, actually.
Yeah. Which means, like, the players in front of him were Ted Ditchburn. He was a fantastic goalkeeper, 452. Hoddle with 490. I'll always recommend people go and watch Glenn Hoddle's video clips. They're absolutely brilliant. The guy was an absolute world-class genius. Cyril Knowles, left back, 506. Pat Jennings, well, I mean, they say Ditchburn was better than him, but I watched Jennings play, and to me, Jennings is the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. 590 for Jennings. Mabbott, 611. Sorry, mate?
Pat Jennings shovel hands as well when I was mascot. Pat Jennings got massive hands as well when I was mascot. She's hand, mate. They're huge. Shovels his hand on.
Yeah.
He does. Remember,
the first ever goalkeeper scored a goal in football.
Jennings used to play Gaelic football, didn't he? And he come from Newry, from Northern Ireland, didn't he?
He does indeed. He does indeed. He's coming back from a United team one time. We met him on the plane.
Massive hands. He's still up there. Good to see him as an ambassador. Sorry, Dan, you're breaking up a little bit.
The only person liked by us. Yeah, sorry, mate. The only person liked by our Tottenham fans, Pat Jennings. He played for both clubs. He played well both clubs. Seems to be the only person who played both clubs. He seems to be taught well by both sets of fans. Pat Jennings.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because there was a different mood when he gave us such good service with 590 appearances that for him to go and Barry Daines to take over was a bit of a crime at the time, but it was more acceptable. And you got Bionic diabetic captain Mabbott, 611 caps, and then you move on to the man himself, Steve Perriman, 854 caps. Sonny's not catching him, right? He's not. He probably won't catch Jennings. Like he'll get past Hoddle or Knowles, but he might get fifth. Yeah. So
how many years have Perriman? 100 games.
Perriman. The Perriman had 14
how many years?
Perriman was with us at least 14 years. He came in at a young age, like Glenn Hoddle, about 17, because Perriman's won 6 trophies, 2 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, and 2 Europa Leagues. So he was in the 71, 72, and 73 team. He was also in the 84 team that won the UEFA Cup as well. So fantastic.
He saw a lot of success.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. The subs bench was pretty strong. Although, Blaine, to be honest, I mean, Odebert and Tell, they're not oven ready, and Basuma's been piss poor all season.
And Richarlison's
Richarlison's made of glass, so it looks stronger than it probably really is on paper because it's not proven in certain areas, is it?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Odebert and Tell can make impacts off the bench, and I think for now that's where they should stay, to be honest, unless, and I'll maybe make a case this later on when we talk about him, but you can make a case for Tell starting over Brennan Johnson just in terms of work rate and effort. But you can't deny Brennan Johnson's conversion rate when it comes to goals. So
16 goals and 3 assists he's got. 16 goals and 3 assists. So, and I didn't want him at the club, so I've warmed to him, but we'll talk about him a bit more in a minute. We'll start. I'll stay with you, Blaine, because I know you watched the highlights. In 13 minutes, it's 1-0. I don't know who gives the ball to Spence. I can't remember. Spence to Johnson. And he hammered it. He has got an eye for goal, the kid. I've got to give him that.
You have to. You can't deny it. Like, I'll put everything else aside in terms of my feelings around Johnson, right? In terms of out and out finishing in the box, he's probably the best talent we have at the minute. It's sad to say it. Because I ain't seen it from Solanke. Solanke's doing a lot of work outside of scoring goals, and he has to be praised for that. But Johnson is our top goal scorer this season.
Yeah, the best version with the club actually with both feet is Sonny actually, but Johnson, he's closing the gap on finishing, definitely.
I'm sorry, even Sonny's finishing's not as good as it used to be, but Look, put it this way: Johnson's the first player since Gareth Bale to score more than 15 goals in a season outside of Kane and Son.
Mm.
He's the first Welsh player to do it. Since Bale in the Prem.
Yeah. These are stats from some of our strikers. Son, 11 goals, 11 assists, believe it or not. Solanke, 11 goals, 8 assists. Johnson, 16 goals, 3 assists. Kulu, 10 goals, 10 assists. Maddison, 11 goals, 10 assists. With that lot, you'd think like we'd be 5th or 6th in the league, wouldn't you? We are the league's second highest goal scorers. We scored all them goals, then it drops off. Then you go down to these guys. Bergvall, 1 goal, 3 assists. I felt sorry for him when his goal was disallowed. We'll come to that. Spence, 2 goals. Well, he got 1 against Coventry in the League Cup, didn't he? Bliss, 2 goals. He scored on Bentancur, 2 goals. Sarr, 6 goals and 2 assists. And he does get goals in important games, Man City and things like that. More 2 goals and 4 assists. We know he scored against Elfsborg, but I think I couldn't figure out where the other goal come from, unless it was that pre-season goal he scored away to, was it Edinburgh he played in Scotland? It was the Scottish team he played. VDV just 2 assists, yeah, and that's sort of it. But yeah, so moving on from where the game is, back to the other banners. Scroll down. Yeah, you should be a member of the Johnson Defence League, James, as you've got Welsh blood in you, right? So your take on the goal?
Yeah, good finish. His positioning is always excellent inside the box.
Yeah, that takes anticipation as well. You can't knock that.
Right. He's just quite a poacher, isn't he? That's what he's very good at. But you just think for a wide player, perhaps he should be a little bit better at taking people on. But I guess that's just kind of not his game, and he's being asked to do things he maybe can't do. And the other thing we have to kind of remember is he's only 23. He is still quite a young player, and it's only his second season, and he's averaging a goal involvement every other game. So, like, his general output is quite good. I think he's just one of those players that's kind of, the only way I can put it is he's boring to watch. He doesn't excite you, but then he scores a goal. So he's a weird player. I can't really work him out yet. And he's kind of the same for Wales, except he's not scoring as much for Wales. So, yeah.
Sorry, carry on. You finished?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he'll improve the other areas of his game with time.
Dan, I was watching the game. I was a bit amazed. I mean, I was pleased for the lad to get. I'm pleased for any player that scores goals, but I actually see Sonny tracking back during this game. See Johnson tracking back.
Yeah, make the change, isn't it? Well, I'm going to see him do the surgery. You need to see him doing it all because he's giving a bit more protection to Borrow. But yeah, I'm not really Johnson's biggest fan. I've got to put my hands when you have a return of like 16 goals in all competitions this season. Someone would have said to me in summer, Johnson could potentially get 20 goals in competition. I would have thought that person mad. I can't really criticise him for that. Like, he's all round game. We're saying definitely needs to improve. We're at a situation where we're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League and we're going to need someone who's going to be clinical and like, is he the most clinical player? But we need someone who's just going to step up in moments in these things now. He don't need to be a 9 out of 10 as well. But I look at Johnson right now, I think he's one of the more reliable players in the team to maybe do that. But
your mic's a bit crackly to me. I don't know what's like to the others. How does Dan's mic sound to you, Blaine and James?
Yeah, it's breaking up every sort of
suboptimal.
Breaking up a bit. I don't know if you're too close to it or whatever, Dan. I don't know.
Let's try. I'll give it 2 minutes. Let me go mute and I'll try to sort it out.
All right, try and sort it out. Or log out and log back. Maybe that'll do it. I don't know. Right, I'm going to go through the chat. Say hello to everyone in chat, guys. Then we talk about that VR decision, right? So we have audio in. Big up audio. Good to see you. Good friend of the channel. Graham, Mod. Big up, Graham. He's saying hello to audio. Audio saying hello. Chris Peters. Yeah, big up, Chris. Good to see you. About time we met for a game, Chris, if you're still going and you haven't given up on our team. Right. Graham saying hello to you, Chris. Dan, your mic's a bit naff, mate. Oh, so it's not us, they can hear it as well. Folk off, that's a brilliant handle, actually. Hi, welcome. He's a regular visitor now. Yeah, audio and folk off. Folk off again. We've got 36 viewers, so I assume that most of them are viewing us here or watching us on XCOM. Right, I'll move back down to the banners again. We've got private chat. Who's this? All right, okay. Yeah, James has met. Oh, he's gone, so it doesn't make kind of your message, James. So
Yeah,
let me go back. Right,
when he comes back.
this James, right now, if you want to really piss fans off up and down the country, VAR certainly knows how to do this, right? 4 minutes and 50 seconds to disallow a goal. Now, to me, even against Chelsea, I'm agreeing with Brad Matthews here. The 2 goals that were disallowed against Chelsea. Look, if there's a doubt, if VAR can't do it in 30 seconds, just allow the goals. If we'd lost by more than 3-0 to Chelsea, fair enough, but like, don't make the fans wait.
Right. Here's what really infuriates me, right? Clear and obvious. Well, if it takes you 4 or 5 minutes, it can't be that bloody clear, can it then? That or, I mean, that's a brilliant advert for Specsavers, by the way. So maybe they should hire me for marketing. But, you know, the lines weren't even straight. The lines were the lines they drew were not straight. The goalpost was, they are physically incorrect lines. Now, whether he was or wasn't, I mean, he didn't score with his back, did he? Overall. I just think it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I think offside should always be done by players' feet, not by like their arm or their shoulder or something. It should always be their feet. And again, if it takes you 5 minutes to come to a decision, just bloody give the goal. I kind of feel like when we got the penalty, I think a part of it was, even though it was a penalty, kind of, I can see it being not given in a different universe, and it almost feels like the ref gave it as like, well, that VAR was a bit close, have a penalty. Game was done by then, so maybe he was trying to even out the decisions. I don't know. I've heard refs say they do that. So, but yeah, it's completely ridiculous. If it takes you 5 minutes to come to a decision on what is ultimately millimeters, which you can't even accurately do with VAR because A, it's only at 60 frames per second, so you're not getting the most accurate timing. You also can't draw the lines straight. I feel like at that point, go with the on-field decision. You get a minute, on-field decision stands after that.
Completely agree. I mean, like, I've seen straighter lines drawn by my great granny and gall dresser shaped Parkinson's. Like, come on. It's not only that, but see the camera angle as well. They were talking about it in commentary, the scene in the highlights. The actual angle wasn't even in line with the players. So how can you make a proper judgment? It should be a limitation. Now, the big change that's coming in this weekend, this is semi-automatic offsides. So hopefully,
is it the 32nd game or is it this weekend, which would be the 31st? I thought it was in the last 6 games, but it doesn't match semantics. Either this weekend or later, though.
But again, it's not foolproof either. There's been decisions I've seen on the semi-automated stuff that has a player well behind, but again, where does it draw off on the arm? And as James says, just make a decision. Say, if it's a body part that you can score with, like your foot, your head, your chest, your back, your arse, whatever it may be, yeah, fair enough. If that's in front, it's offside. But don't take 5 minutes. It's killing the game.
Yeah,
it's one area that I'll agree with Big Ange on. It is killing the game.
Yeah, my take on it is I welcome it. And even if it's not as accurate as you think it is, I welcome it because it'll be quicker. And I think the technology is more trustworthy. I don't trust the officials at VAR. I think we like to think that our referees are pure and they're unbiased. But look, no one's perfectly unbiased. And anyone who's got a history of other clubs and things like that, you never know. A little bit of resentment or revenge might come into play. I'd rather technology make a mistake than an official behind a screen or a group of officials behind a screen, because I can live with that, because that's not a conscious decision. That's just a cold, digital decision that's made. And so that will do for me. And I'm hoping that this stays. I mean,
wasn't VAR introduced to remove human mistakes from the game, but it's still down to a human to make the call.
Yeah. What I always get annoyed by is the ref will make a decision, whatever it is, a tackle, a challenge, whatever, right? Then it will go to VAR. But VAR can only overrule it if they deem it a clear and obvious error. What does that even mean, right? I mean, if he had his eyes closed, but it's a very clear, incorrect error, I think more than anything, when you're using VAR, ref makes a call. VAR think, okay, we think you've made an error here. Just go look back at the incident on the screen. Go look back at the incident on the screen. Everyone can see what you're doing. And then you've got 30 seconds of looking at it to make another decision. On-field decision, that's your call. Not have someone fucking 70 miles away making a call. Sorry, swear.
No, but they do it right rugby. They throw it up on the big screen as well, so that everybody in the stadium can still see it.
In rugby as well, they have the refs mic'd up. Yeah, so you can hear what they're saying, which I think eliminates a lot of the annoyance.
I mean, I'm all for VAR when it comes down. Ref go back to the screen to judge whether it's a red card or a yellow card decision. I'm all for that, right? I'm still all for VAR regarding handball, although some of the handball decisions being given with VR when a player like Dyer had his back to the ball and they give one a penalty and shit like that. I mean, they're a bit ridiculous, but I don't think there's too many of them. So it still has a part to play in areas of action where the referee hasn't got eyes in the back of his head. So it still has a part to play in that way, especially if it was a red card decision and a referee missed it or something happened off the ball and the ref following the ball. So it has a place. I mean, I like the goal line technology. Who can ever forget Pedro Mendes' good goal scored against Man United when the ball was at least 3 foot over the line and the referee didn't give the goal, right? So I'm pleased about that. But I just find VR, you need to be able to celebrate a goal instantly, like fans did, not wait and then cheer 5 minutes later or boo 5 minutes later. It's just...
I will say my favourite ever VAR moment was when we knocked City out of the Champions League and all the City fans went crazy and then it was pulled back and disallowed. I very much enjoyed that moment.
There was two moments, wasn't there? There was the moment where
Llorente,
up front, whether the ball did roll down his arm or not. And when the referee went to this monitor, I thought, he's going to disallow this, because when does a ref go there and not disallow a goal?
Yeah.
Every time they go there, they disallow a goal. But give that ref fair play. Maybe he didn't like Man City. Maybe they knocked out his boyhood club or something. Because he said it didn't. Even today, when you look at it, you can't tell if it was a handball or not. So
I remember the commentator saying, "I think he's going to disallow this. It looked like it hit his arm." And no, I guess the ref was a Man U fan. Cheers, mate. But
Daniel
he's on the Christmas card list.
Daniel back.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much.
Oh, that's a lot better. Yeah.
That is much better.
Arsenal just scored as well, didn't they? Declan Rice. I just saw that. Trying to get sort of out. Sorry about that.
That's
more one goal. Right.
It sounds definitely better now, though. Yeah.
Yeah, much better, mate. Much better.
All right, cool. Nice one.
What was your take on the VR decision and the 4.50 seconds to disallow the goal?
Oh, mate, nearly 5 minutes to wait for a disallowed opportunity. After the one the other day, it was 6 minutes. But it's taken too long, man. You shouldn't have to take that long to make a decision. I know we want to see the right decisions, but I just got a point there where he starts saying you're just waiting around now. 6 minutes waiting for a decision now. It's spoiling the game. 4.5, nearly 5 minutes for just a normal decision in the 35th minute. And this is after a 6-minute decision against Chelsea as well. That's 11 minutes it's taken to make 2 VAR decisions. You know what I mean? We're basically nearly every football game now. You're getting nearly 10 minutes added on time now. Nearly every football match. It's mad. But I think it was a very, very, very tight decision. So I can see why it took a while, but that's too long, man. They got to be looking at a process. I know they're bringing in the automated thing soon, so that's going to help. But for nearly 5 minutes for any sort of decision, that's too long. So I can see why Andrew's not happy about that.
Yeah. Well, he's not alone, is he? He's not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, the refs used to give them both goals against Chelsea, and Chelsea, they'd still have won the game. But rather than keep the fans waiting, even the offside we got against them, that was tough. We all cheered it because it's Chelsea. But both goals should have been given, in my opinion. Even the second goal against Chelsea. I mean, the player did lean forward for Sarr to catch him high. It was high, but it wasn't the greatest contact. It was high. It was a foul looking at it, but Right, we'll move on. Blaine, 42 minutes. Solanke won the ball. He's fighting for the ball. He goes at the Maddison. Maddison heads it, actually, and it was deliberate header, and Johnson guides the ball into the net. It was a composed finish.
After a bit of faffing about at the back from Southampton, he just... Do you know what? Actually, originally, whenever I watched back the replays, I thought it was offside because he was that far in front of the defence. But no, he reacted really well to it, and it was an instinctive finish. Very, very instinctive, just to guide it just nicely to the outside of the foot. Very nice goal.
James Johnson Defence League, come on.
Proper poacher's finish, that. Yeah, good finish. Hey, I defended him last season, so, you know. But
and he didn't try and blast it. He just like guided it.
Yeah.
He's a good finisher.
Yeah, I think it's weird. You know, I was thinking about it the other day while I was on a walk. I feel like he almost suits the Dele Alli position a little bit, because I don't think he's great out wide, but what he's very good at is running off other people and finding those spaces in the box. I almost feel like in a 3-5-2 or something with Solanke, he'd actually probably do really, really well. I think he's just one of those players that fits in a specific niche excellently. But
we'd need to see if he can play people in, because we don't really see that with passing range like an Ali would. Dele Alli in his prime, he would find you with the ball. I mean, we don't. Well, he may have it in his locker. We don't know. We just don't know, do we?
See what I mean, though.
Yeah, Dan, your take on the second goal?
Yeah, it was good. Good play, good finish by Johnson, and Bergvall done the smart thing as well by running out of the box and not going to the ball, because he would have been offside for that second goal as well. So that's smart play by Bergvall as well, because he knew if he went in the line of the ball, it would have gone offside. So. And that was a good finish by Johnson. I have to give respect to Johnson there, because he took that first time and he took that that was a confident finish. So big up to Johnson there. But I just wanted to big up Bergvall as well, because he obviously he had to run out. He didn't go towards the ball or anything like that. Because as soon as he and it took their eye line in the way a little bit. And sort of it gave Johnson that's a good finish by Johnson, man. Just big up that. That was a confident finish. So right now he's looking like one of our best finishers in our team, which is. He hasn't scored. That was the first couple goals in like 8 games. But the way he took the second goal, he looks like he's a decent finisher. Well, he's definitely finishing better this season. So I've got to give him his respect for that.
Yeah. I must admit, I've warmed to him this season. He only got 5 goals last season. I thought, what we got here, I didn't want him when he first come to the club, and I think he's even got a higher ceiling, because if he can track back and put a bit more work rate into games, then he's going to look an even better player. But we'll see. So
sorry, Adrian, the scum are 2-0 up.
Are they? Oh, well.
Oh my God!
Listen, don't underestimate Real Madrid. Like, basically, when it comes to the Champions League, they just loan the cup to another team for a season, and they go back and win it again, right?
Well, I mean,
Declan Rice scored again.
Yeah.
Twice. Hardly hell.
Yeah.
Standing.
And now. So what was a good first half, and we should have gone in at least 3 or 4 up, right? We get to the second half, and it looks like the team had their eyes on Frankfurt this Thursday, and I'm going. But and I think these substitutions, Dan, I think Ange saw that, and he wanted to freshen things up a bit, inject a bit of pace into the game, because we were just strolling.
Yeah, second half was a bit of a stroll, wasn't it? So you could tell he made the subs early into the second half. I was saying to myself, he needs to make a couple subs there, but the second half was a bit of a stroll for a long part of the second half, wasn't it? Really? It's obviously so. Maybe they've got their attention on Thursday. And if they've got their attention on Thursday, I can't really blame them, because it's a massive game on Thursday. So if they did take it a little bit more easier in the second half, I can understand it a little bit.
And he brought 2 energetic players on, didn't he, James?
Yeah, I think Son coming off like relatively early, before the hour mark. That was possibly predetermined. Definitely
with Son. Yeah,
I think that's almost the way you have to treat him now. Like, you're going to play 60 minutes, go for it in those 60 minutes, sort of thing.
And I think that Son and Bentancur are starting Thursday, right? By these early substitutions, right?
They're definitely starting. And Sarr makes a lot of sense. Sarr runs around everywhere all the time, just kick a bit of energy in the team. And Odegaard's the kind of player who wants to take on his man and push the other team back. So, perfectly sensible substitutions, I think.
Okay, we'll move on. Late challenge, Porro gets booked. Then the next substitutions, Dan, 80 minutes. He brings Graham for Bergvall and Basuma for Madison.
Yeah, standard subs, really. I would probably would have liked to see Gray a little bit earlier. I'm surprised Gray didn't get probably a start in this game, because the Southampton as well, and since the injuries have come back, he's not really been played a lot. So, but they would have sort of standard subs, 2 midfield, 2 light central midfielders for But you can tell now that he's definitely sort of lost faith in Basuma. You can tell because he's not been playing a lot recently. Like he's not been starting a lot recently. You can tell these are the last few months for Basuma at this football club. He's definitely better in the summer.
And Blaine, we start faffing about like we do in games when we're winning. 90 minutes, it's 2-1. Matheus Fernandes, Suleiman to Fernandes. He chests the ball down, slams the ball past Fernandes. Again, I've seen so many goals like this in that penalty area this season.
That's not even just this season, let's be honest, Adrian. I've seen many a game in the past where Kaboula's been beaten in the 91st minute for somebody to latch on and score. Come on. Yeah. This is just Spurs written all over. And I thought at this point, not again. And I'm sure most of our fans are going, "Oh no, here we go." Were you at the game on?
Yeah, I was at the game. It was very, like the fans very flat. There was a few demonstration chants, not too many. When you're winning a game at 2-0, it's a bit hard to get the fans going to sing a demonstration song. You know what I mean? Although they tried, but because there was a demo, wasn't there? So I thought you got to mention it because it did happen. So so there was a few leave you out chants. But I
mean, when that goal went in, did you feel a bit of tension? I'm sure you did.
Well, it was 90 minutes. I suppose, to be honest, you look and think, oh, there's 6 minutes to go. But and we really let them get. I mean, when you see the stats later, I mean, they really. The first half, we carried on the way we started. It could have been 5-0 at half time, like it was at their place, you know. At St Mary's, it could have quite. But we just seemed at 2-0. We just think, oh well. We'll be casual and passive, and if something breaks for us, then we'll take advantage and score. But you know, football's not like that. Not in the Premier League. You know, you can't
3-0 the Arsenal now.
Yeah,
they're going to be a Champions League semi-final.
They're smashing. They are smashing Real Madrid.
I can't take
this, mate.
I'm glad I'm not watching it.
Hell, mate.
Nah, it's fine. The Bernabeu, they'll win 5-0 at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Believe.
So we got. Look, they're more than capable of is it half time yet? No.
Well, it's like 75 minutes long.
But this little 15-minute spell by Real Madrid, this little capitulation by Real Madrid is quite mental. Like, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but if you're an Arsenal fan, you'd be very confident about even getting a goal in the Bernabeu because this Real Madrid team don't look the same. They look awful, man. This Real Madrid team I'm watching right now, they look like a shell. I know this is the Champions League, but there's like 2 free kicks and then this goal here. This might be offside. This might be offside, you know. I don't know, bro. I don't want to talk about Arsenal. Screw Arsenal, man.
Yeah.
Get me out talking about them Muppets, man.
We beat Real Madrid 3-1 at Wembley, didn't we? You know, we expected to come third in the group behind them and Dortmund, and we finished top. Right, and I'll stay with you, Dan. 90 minutes plus 6, 3-1 penalty. Johnson on a hat trick, but Tell takes the penalty.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not really. Like, in a way, it's good to get a bit of confidence for Tell because Tell needed that first Premier League goal. So I don't really know if there's coming out like 2 different stories. Like Johnson not too happy about not taking it. Romero told Tell to take it. I'm all for one for getting the striker a bit of confidence as well. Someone who's definitely going for a bad little run as well. Because Tell's only going to be a few months, you know, potentially, if he don't start playing well. He's going to be going back to Bayern in the summer. And I want to start seeing him start putting in some decent, getting some confidence. See a chance we're going to potentially sign him permanently. Johnson's going to be here next season no matter what. So I'm happy that they let Tell take it. But I think too much has been made about it because when Johnson was on a hat trick, everyone's like, Johnson should take it because Johnson won the penalty. If Johnson didn't win the penalty, I don't think there'd have been too much about him taking it. I think people have been like, when he won the penalty as well and he's on a hat trick, I think it's been blown out of water a little bit. So people's like, Johnson should have taken the penalty. He should never have the hat trick. No, he shouldn't. No one's entitled to take a penalty just because they're on 2 goals. He's still got to win. It's still only 2-1. We've still got to put the penalty away. If he's got the usual penalty taker, he shouldn't be taking the penalty. That's the way I look at it. He's on a hat trick.
Well, Sonny wasn't on the pitch or Madison, so either of those would have taken it if it had been that case.
Yeah,
no one wasn't there Son anyway.
Yeah, so
so you know, turns out all right. We get the goal. Good work by Romero then to tell to take it. Didn't think it was the best struck penalty in the world, but
no, it wasn't that great.
No. They weren't. But actually, you're picking up on the theme I wanted to talk about in this, and that is Romero actually standing up and being a bit of a leader on the pitch, making the executive decision and saying, no, I'm the captain at the minute. Tell's taking the penalty. Respect my decision, whether you like it or not. Respect my decision. And actually, Johnson listening to him and going, okay. Fair play.
Yeah.
That's the way a leader should lead.
Okay, James, Angie's game management. Get it right with the team and the substitutions? I mean, we won the game, so...
Yeah, I think the subs were fine. Maybe Gray could have come on a bit sooner, especially considering we were cruising at 2-0 in the second half against, let's be honest, probably the worst team in Premier League history. I mean, they're going to beat Derby's record, which is fantastic. I love how terrible they are. And all my friends from Portsmouth are absolutely loving it. So, that's good. But, yeah, I mean, you can't really criticise it, those choices. They all make logical sense. I'd probably do something similar, other than maybe give Gray a few more minutes. But, maybe he's going to feature on Thursday a bit. So
I'll give you the stats in a second. I think we can safely say that, we'll come to individual performances, but I think Johnson easily gets the man of the match for this, doesn't he? Stats, guys. This is how it worked out because we were passive second half. We had 51% possession to 49. We had 8 shots to 4. There 4. 13 in total to 12. We committed 16 fouls to 20. We had 4 corners there, 1 offside, 1 each. Tackles 16-30. Clearances 13-16. Interceptions 9 to their 7. Passes, 477 to 470. That's close. Accuracy of passes, because a lot of passes around the back and crosses, even Stevens. Yeah, so that's the stats, which shows, it just tells me how passive we were second half, really. We were passive, right? And nearly caught a cold doing it as well. Imagine if it had gone to 2-2. My God, they'd have been upright. We got 48 of you watching. Before we move through the players' performances, I want to go through the comments again. And if you've got any questions in the chat, get them in. Right. What's this? No, Arsenal 1-0 up. We know. Don't depress us, Graham.
We're just getting a timeline of that game. Wonderful.
Always going to lead the trophy. Yeah. I thought they were going to make Ramsdale go after he took Romero's diving header in the face. He looked, Romero could have scored 2. Didn't even VAR the Ramsdale handle by out the box. No, because it's the referee on-field decision. And from my end of the pitch, I couldn't see it anyway. I was pleased the penalty was given, obviously, but I know we go quickly past Arsenal scores. I guess that's what. Good point. My thoughts on the left wing look dangerous for them. Gonna skip the Arsenal scores. We're going to get to London. Actually, although that's a pretty good call getting him on a loan because, there's no way I think any of us want to buy him on what we've seen so far. They only scored at Villa as well in the cup, but nice goal from Decky Cross actually. But
apparently, I read the other day there's a situation where Bayern Munich might call him back for the World Club Cup in the summer because they're going to be quite low on players. So they might be calling back some of their loan players if it don't go to. So you say if we don't sign him permanently by then, there's a very good chance they might call him back for that competition. So
the interesting thing about that, Dan, is the transfer window has been broken up into 2 parts because they don't think it's fair to disadvantage Man City and Chelsea, the 2 biggest crookedly run clubs in the league, right? From being disadvantaged in a transfer window.
I mean,
sorry, how are Chelsea disadvantaged when they've got 97 players on bloody
exactly.
So basically what they're doing is they're doing it in 2 split windows. They're doing a special window for 10 days in June before the Club World Cup starts. So the teams that are in the Club World Cup can get all their players together. So they're all sort of ready. So they're basically it's to make the World Cup basically try and make it as attractive as possible for the people to watch it. They want to have the teams as strong as possible, basically. So they're giving them a little 10-day. I don't know if we can still if the teams that are not in it can still sign players during that 10-day window, or if that's just for the clubs in the world. If the teams
they won't be able to. But you imagine deals will be struck in the first Like,
So they can still sign players from us, though. They can still sign players from us, though, in 10 days.
Yeah, the clubs will still be talking if they don't officially sign players, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely ludicrous, and I mean, the Club World Cup. Look at, if you want to know how it's funded, it's a very fun rabbit hole to go down. Saudi Arabia, painful.
Yeah.
But,
well, the winners get £1 billion. The winners of the tournament get £1 billion prize money.
No, it's about
$1 billion is the prize money given to all the teams participating.
Yeah, it's about 90 million for the winner.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like, you get £1 billion just for winning it. No wonder why teams want to play in it, though, man. Imagine winning that and getting £1 billion prize money.
I think James is right. That's the money for the whole.
Yeah, that makes more. Yeah, that makes more sense. What James is saying. I was about to say, it's £1 billion prize money for the winners.
I think it's about 90 to 100 million for the winner.
That's a lot of cash.
Yeah, £1 billion prize money, which is exactly the quantity of money FIFA is getting from Danzon, which is a streaming service. And that is the exact same amount of money that Danzon got invested by the Saudi Arabian government's investment fund. Isn't that peculiar?
Yeah. Then we got, does Till get a medal in Bayern Winning League this year? I don't know what their appearances are for getting medals there, folk off. I really don't know.
He probably does.
Evening, Lisa. Big up, Lisa. Good friend of the chat. Right, we'll go back.
It'll be funny when Tell does go back and Eric Dyer shows him his winner's medal.
Eric Dyer is a league champion.
Okay, we'll go through performances. We don't do marks out of 10. We just discuss the players. Dan Vicario, he did have to make a few saves during this game, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I'll say, well, if you give it like by rating, really, I'll give him like a 7 out of 10, really. So, well, he did, like you said, he had to make a couple. But Southampton in the second half were much. Southampton made more of a game of it in the second half, but they didn't really have much to lose. They knew they were going down, didn't they? If they didn't give it a go. So you knew you were going to get that sort of reaction from Southampton. It was pretty much they had nothing to lose, so they were going to go for the last 15, 20, 25 minutes. So I expected them to have a little bit better in the second half, but the second half we were too passive in the second half.
James, these two.
I thought they were both good. I thought Spence played well, personally. Yeah, I mean, screw it. I'll get it's kind of it's one of those games where
Porro and Spence. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Porro. Yeah,
Porro and Spence. Sorry, I need to change that banner. I did.
It's one of those weird games where I only remember a couple of players, but yeah, he was fine. He didn't do anything egregious, right? So, and I think Spence is always at least putting up a 6 minimum sort of performance. So yeah, they played well. Hope to see him on Thursday.
Yeah. Porro hasn't been at his best, as he blamed, but I mean, like, Spence has been a jewel this season.
And I think Spence playing on the left side is where he should be playing, in truth. He's always put in better performances for me on that side. Now, again, like, I can't comment about the whole game, but from those flashes I did see, and from what I was hearing in commentary, I managed to get a commentary stream. But yeah, to me, it's a conundrum because Porro going forward is so much better than Porro going back, right? And if you want to play this system, you need somebody that's going to be that attacking threat. And especially with Johnson not being able to put a ball in the box to save his life, you need Porro overlapping. So what do you trade off? Do you trade off that crossing capability and play Spence there, who's more impactful running in? Or do you play Porro and have that threat of a cross going into the box? I don't know.
Dan, Davis and Romero. David's solid. Romero had a couple of scoring chances. Unlucky not to score, Romero, I thought.
Yeah, well, one of them hit. One of them Ramsdale had a clue about hitting in the face, so that was unlucky. But Davis, I didn't even know Davis was playing for like a while, but that's good in a way, yeah. But he's just Mr. Reliable. And sometimes if you don't notice the players playing, that's just because they're just doing their standard job they always do. And I feel that's what Davis always does. You're not going to get with Ben Davis, so you're going to get a reliable job from him. And he's just going to do what he needs to do, the basics. He's going to do it pretty well. So like Ben Davis, like I like Ben Davis the last couple of years, man, because whenever he's asked to do a job for us, he steps in and he 9 times out of 10, he's putting in usually 7 out of 10 performances. Romero definitely was. You see that chance? Was it yesterday? Obviously yesterday when Romero went that little 40-yard, 50-yard run. He sort of got a nosebleed, didn't know what to do with the ball, and he sort of like took a little touch, and he was like, "What am I doing here? I'm a centre back in a striker's position." So like, I sort of rate that when centre backs do that, but then you can sort of tell when centre backs do that. Like, what am I doing up here? I got to get a nosebleed. I'm a bit too far off the pitch. So I rated that though, Rubs. But yeah, he's definitely he could have had a couple goals yesterday, Romero. He definitely should have scored that one. If he puts it to the other side, Ramsdale don't get that because Ramsdale didn't have a clue about that save. It's literally just smashed him in the face.
Yeah, James Davis. I mean, I can't recall him having a bad game for a long time. And Romero, I mean, like, we showed how much we've been missing him. Actually, he is quality.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Davies, I can't remember him ever having a bad game for Spurs or Wales. Always puts his body on the line. You know, he had a really good clearance for Wales. I can't remember which game it was, but he had a brilliant piece of defending there. And I think, whereas he's one of the more, you know, experienced and mature players, apparently he's really intelligent footballing-wise. He's very good to just sort of have around, even if he's not playing constantly. You know, he's never going to make you go, "Cool, Ben Davies, world class," but always good player. And Romero, yeah, I think the thing we miss most with Romero, okay, he can have some lapses in his defensive judgment at times, but his just ball playing ability is superb. You know, it reminds me of Toby a little bit, Alderweireld. His ability to play a long diagonal pass is, I think, very important for us when we're struggling to get through teams, especially when they're congesting the midfield and we can't pass through it. His ability to just play over the top is exceptional, and we're going to need that against Frankfurt, I think, definitely.
Blaine, I mean, like, Romero has his critics. I mean, like, I am a big fan. I think he's our best defender, so I will take pelts of that from the VDV lovers. But I just think he's got much more to his game than VDV's got. I mean, VDV's sexy because of his pace. But, I mean, we miss him. I mean, like, he is, I mean, to me, he progresses us up the field. We don't know if Danso can do that for us yet. We haven't seen enough of him. We would certainly miss him if he was gone.
I think you would, but so if you were to look at tier lists of players, I wouldn't put Romero in top tier. I wouldn't even put in the tier below it. I'd say he's above average. I think there's still far better centre backs out there, personally. And I've no offense in what you think yourself, but personally, I think he's still not the greatest in the air. Positionally, he can be found out at times, and sometimes his judgment on passing as well can be a bit iffy. So, like, he's not the finished article, right? But I agree with what you say. He is a miss for us, absolutely. And as for Davies, model professional. You know, you always know you're going to get a 7 out of 10 performance from him, even on his worst day.
Dan, we'll come to the midfielders. I mean, like, we can all agree that where our players looked good was mainly in the first half and not so much in the second half. You know? What was your take on these three?
Well, Bentancur, I didn't really see much of him, but Bergvall's the one I'm really impressed with out of the three, really. Because he just gets himself about, and you just feel like every more game you see him in the Premier League, you just feel like he's getting more used to English football. But this is definitely, I was one of the people in the summer that said about Bergvall, I thought he might need a loan, but he's definitely far further ahead than what I thought he'd be at this stage of his Spurs career. But like how he's becoming one of our more important midfielders in our team. Now, if you look at our team now, he's probably one of the first guys you guess is going to be in that start in the midfield three. Like, Bergvall's definitely going to start at midfield three now. He seems to be one of Andy's quietly become one of Andy's favourites now in the last few months, and he sort of deserves to be one of the midfield three because he's one of the only ones who seems to be putting in consistently 7 out of 10 performances the last couple months. Maddison's I'm a bit iffy with Maddison because Maddison decides when he wants to sharpen this. His stats have been good this season, but it's been done over periods in games where he's done it where he's scored like braces in a couple games, and it's been too many games where he's our go-to man and he has not stepped up this season. I'm a big fan of Maddison, yeah? So I'm not a big fan of his inconsistency the last couple of years since he's been at this club. Like, I don't know if that's because of Ange or that's because of Maddison, but he's definitely someone, in this little period against Frankfurt, we're going to need someone like him to step up in these next couple big games. If we get to the final Europa League, we're definitely going to need to start seeing the best of Maddison in these next couple, definitely in the Frankfurt games, because the Bergvall is someone I'm really, he's definitely one of my positives about this season, Bergvall, man. Because I thought in the summer, oh, this guy's come from Sweden. I didn't know much about him. But I can see why we signed him, and I can see why Barcelona wanted this boy, man. Because there's something special about him. You can tell. And the more he learns, the more he plays in the Premier League, you're going to see, like, you can see him learning every more game he's playing in this play in the Premier League. You can see him getting stronger as a midfielder as well.
James is back with us. We were talking. I'll give you these three. Where are we? I clicked on it and it went right. Yeah, James. First half, all looked good. Second half, we were passive. But yeah, they didn't do badly in the first half. Bentancur sort of set back and give more license to Bergwijn and Maddison, in my opinion.
I mean, Bergwijn and Maddison are both very creative players, so I feel like you do need to balance that out with a more defensive midfield and of Bentancur's sort of temperament. But also, I think Bentancur's good enough at progressing the ball that you don't really miss out on that sort of aspect by playing him. My cats are going mental. Wonderful. Yeah, they're all good players. I think the second half, we looked a little pedestrian. We looked, content with ourselves. We were at the beach mentally. But, that's going to happen. It's not a game that really gets you going. And from what I've heard, the stadium was pretty, chilled. Because the sun's out, it's hot. No one wants to run around. You're winning 2-0. Chill.
Yeah.
Felt very Italian.
And Blaine, I mean, Bencar's coming for some criticism this season. He has played well in games like away at Brentford and players like that. I always thought Bentancur was at his very best. Not that he hasn't been good in patches this season. I thought he was at his very best last season. Actually, when he's not playing so deep, when he's driving us up the pitch, that's the Bentancur that excited me last year.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. He has not looked the same player since that big injury. That's been a crippling factor for him, I think. And it's a shame because, as you say, he could have been a great ball-carrying, box-to-box midfielder for us. I just think, as you say, you see him in flashes, and we don't need flashes. We need somebody that's going to be consistent in midfield week in, week out. Bergwijn has probably been, as Dana said, our biggest shining beacon this season. Now, am I going to say he's special? Am I going to say he's next to Iniesta? No. But from what I'm seeing, if he can kick on and keep progressing, he could be a great midfielder for us.
Yeah, I mean, players often don't come back the same from ACL injuries.
No.
For a while. So the fact that he's playing, I'd say he's playing at like 70% of what he used to play at. I mean, he was, when Conte brought him in, or Paratici rather, under Conte, he was exceptional. And without him, we were a completely different team. We were way worse. And he was paired next to Højbjerg, right, who has zero passing ability. So he's obviously got that creativity and that ball progression there. I just don't think we're seeing it at the moment because of the injury, and he's not fully recovered.
I'm about to say, I agree as well. Do you remember before, we saw Bentancur before the 2022 World Cup? Remember that Leeds game? I think it was only 4-3. And he was really, really good for under Conte. And then he come back and he got the injury against Leicester. We've not seen the same Bentancur since. And that's what, nearly 2 years now? You think about it, you can tell that Bentancur before the World Cup, that version of Bentancur, if we had that version of Bentancur now, be a complete different player. It's like we've got a 50% version of him now. He's never fully recovered from that ACL injury he got against Leicester. And then the more year you're going past, you just see, how old Bentancur is he? 25, 26?
No, I think
27.
27, 28.
So he's going to start hitting his peak levels of his career now, and he's never fully hit his levels back after that ACL injury. So you start worrying about him a bit now. You start saying, how much more time are you going to give him before you start saying, but I'm more to definitely selling Basuma this summer. If I'm only going to sell one midfielder, it's definitely got to be Basuma.
Yeah.
In my eyes, that's the one that's definitely got to go 100%.
My worry with making a rash call on Bentancur is, do you remember Trippier's last season for us? He was pretty awful, and then it later transpired that he'd been playing for injury all year. And my worry is he had this massive injury to Bentancur. I do wonder if there's still little niggles. It hasn't healed perfectly, and he's still carrying these little knocks. Not enough to stop him playing, but to hold him back a little bit. Maybe it's a psychological thing. I don't know. But I do wonder if our perhaps subpar medical team, to be polite, haven't addressed it as well as could have been done. That's obviously just speculation, but
yeah, I think when I've watched him, I do like the player. So he is a favourite player of mine, and was, especially when he was at his best. And he has come back well, considering he's had an ACL. I'd be more concerned if it was a striker that had it or a winger that had the ACL injury. When they lose, they can't turn properly or they've lost a yard of pace. All right, we know you've got a graft in midfield, but if you're playing a bit deeper, he seems to be. But his form's been patchy as well. But when he's played well, he has played very well at back. I mean, he played very well against Brentford away. And then he'll have a couple of games he's not so hot. He wasn't bad against Southampton. Then people say, yeah, but it was only Southampton, and I get that as well.
Yeah,
So,
I think what
I
the
think
problem
he needs
is,
to be assessed at the end of the season. And the club obviously like him to offer him a new contract, Dan.
Yeah, I think what the problem is, I think a lot of people see that little period before the World Cup where he was playing to that real good level under Conte, and he was chipping in with quite a few goals as well. I think people thought that was his standards, and then they've seen his standards like drop off since the ACL. I think that's where people will realise that Bentancur's much better in this. You can tell Bentancur's much better in this, like the performances he's put in the last year or so. But are we ever going to see that same Bentancur we saw under Conte, where it's going to reach them levels again? I think that's what some Spurs fans are looking at. But he's definitely not one of the ones that I'm looking at. If I was going to sell two, he'd be one that I maybe would sell. We're going to sell two midfielders, but I'm definitely selling Basuma 100% over him first. Basuma is our biggest problem in our midfield, full stop. I don't care like people can say about his Brighton spell. That was, 2 or 3 years ago. He's been in, 3 years now. I've barely seen, 10 good games for Basuma in a Spurs shirt. I'm sorry, Basuma has to leave this football club. He was already a Premier League proven player before he comes to this football club, yeah? Because Bentancur wasn't, yeah? So, then you'd have some excuses with Bentancur, yeah? He's had an ACL injury. Bentancur's had a lot of rotten luck this year with injuries as well. You have to remember, even though this is not obviously an ACL injury, he's been knocked out twice in 2 different games already this season. The Leicester game beginning of the season, he got knocked out. And I think there was another game where he was knocked out as well, where he had to 2 concussions. He's been where he's had little spells out this season as well. He's been a player. He just seems to have had a lot of rotten luck the last couple of years as well. Where it seems
you can't question his grit. Got grit.
Yeah.
His player's got grit.
He's obviously upset some voodoo priest or something based on his luck. But I remember when we signed Basuma, someone on Twitter, that wonderful website full of unbiased, balanced perspectives, someone said Basuma's the
Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, someone said that he's going to be our next Moussa Dembele, and that's aged fantastically. Someone also said the same about Ndombele, so maybe we just need to stop calling midfielders the next Moussa Dembele, because that curses them for whatever reason. But
no one's going to be the next Yaya Toure.
No Spurs midfielder we signed is going to be the next Moussa Dembele, mate. Literally, he was that good at holding on players with the ball. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be nearly impossible to find another Moussa Dembele. He was so one of the most underrated footballers of this football decade, man. Because if he hit his attributes, he should have been had a much more successful career than what he had. But he's so good footballer, man. It's impossible to find another Moussa Dembele in, especially these sort of footballers now.
I always found it mental he was kept out of the Belgian team. That always baffled me. But
they have a strong squad, Belgium, though. They have a strong squad. That was a strong Belgium squad. So yeah, he's a quality player, man.
Blaine, your take on these guys this season? They've all got plenty of goals. Son 11-11, Solanke 11-8, Johnson 16-3. This is assists and goals, obviously.
Can I pick Solanke?
You can pick any of them. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, so I've been hearing a lot of criticism amongst spheres of fans around Solanke's performances. See if you actually watch him throughout the 90 minutes. Solanke does a huge amount off the ball.
Yeah.
That goes unnoticed amongst the critics for him. Yeah, out-and-out goal scoring, he hasn't had as great a season. But you look at the way he was set up in the Bournemouth team versus the way he's set up for us, right? He is not going to be an impact player that bursts into the box and gets his head onto every ball, because we don't do that. We get to the byline with an inverted fullback who pops it across the box, and 9 times out of 10, he's already at the front post. It goes to the back post, Johnson taps it in, right? So it's not playing to his strengths. His hold-up play, his ability to win a foul to progress us up the field, that is the type of forward play that I actually like to see. Where I think he could be great is, as you suggested earlier, having a Johnson playing off him, or a Tell playing off him, or no Odegaard playing off him, so that you've somebody that can assist him more directly. You would see a far better goal and assist return, I think, from Solanke. That's just my personal view on it, but happy if anybody wants to agree, disagree, or call me a stupid idiot.
James, his work rate's exceptional. I mean, like, do you think that, like, if we didn't have his work rate, we'd have lost a lot more possession in games and probably lost a few more even?
He reminds me, like I said this before, he reminds me a lot of Firmino, the job he did under Klopp at Liverpool. Very hard-working, very good at holding up the ball, much like Kane was. Okay, he's not, scored 30 goals, but again, I don't think we're going to be able to form objective opinions about strikers just because for the past decade we've had the best striker on earth playing for us. So it's kind of hard going from that to anything. It's like, drinking a £4,000 bottle of champagne and then being given a £50 bottle of prosecco. I mean, the 50, you've been clouded, haven't you, a little bit? But yeah, no, his work rate's exceptional, really good at holding up the ball, and just the small things like when he's got the ball and he's laying it off or just, trying to shift or something, he does that so much better than Richarlison ever did. Just leagues better. And it shows so much.
Dan?
Well, about Solanke, I just got a lot of things to say about him as well, because I've been hearing a lot of Spurs fans criticise him recently, but then sort of use this, but then sort of double down on it a bit as well, but then saying that we're not getting the best out of him. Well, what do you expect to get out of your number 9 if you're not playing to his best strengths? If you look at Bournemouth, they're getting the best out of Evan Nilsson this season as well. Solanke's not if you look at it for what we paid, his goal return is probably not good enough. He's been out this season with a couple of injuries as well, but people have been using, we're not getting the best out of him. So then you can't be saying you can't be then panning him too much, because if you're not getting the best, if you're not playing to your number 9's best abilities, you're not going to get the best out of him. As simple as. So I can't really understand why people are going for Solanke so much. Like, a lot of people were criticising him. I can understand why they're not happy with his goal return, but then if you're saying at the same time we're not getting the best out of him, well then there's a reason why he's struggling a bit then. Because any number 9 would struggle if you're not playing to his best strength. If you're not playing to any number 9's best strengths, you're going to see a lot of number 9 struggle. That's just common maths, man. That's just facts. So like when they see we're struggling to play to his best strengths. Well, if you start playing to his best strengths, then you might start seeing a better Solanke then. That's where I look at it.
Let's also not forget Son in his first season for us about 9 years ago. He played 40 games and only scored 8 goals. Right. Sometimes it takes a season. Yeah, it takes time for players to acclimatise to a new club, especially when Son came from Germany. But it's a step up from Bournemouth to Spurs. I mean, we're having a not great season.
There's nothing about critiquing the players when they play well, badly, or whatever. I'm a fan of Romero. People criticise him, said he moves the ball too quickly. A lot of the times I'm at the game. I'm not. People watching at home are not seeing on the TV that like we've got no movement and no runners. I could critique him for not moving the ball quickly if he's got options. Right. But when he's got no options, I'm not going to critique a player. The same as I actually believe, although Solanke is nowhere near in the class of so many strikers we've had in the past, without his work rate, I think we would have suffered even more with all these injuries going through. I mean, I think him being able to hold it and the ball sticking to him has helped us a lot. But at the same time, his job is to score goals, and you need to score near 100 goals a season. You're going to dream of winning the league when we're a long way from that. And the front three's been clunky all season and the midfield's been pantsed. But we might just be seeing a bit of the midfield players getting used to playing together and a regular three in Bergvall, Maddison and Bentancur would probably all throw Decky in those 4 when he gets fit, and we don't know what's happening in the summer, whether we'll get a Cardoso or an Angel Gomez or whatever. Right, so I want to go through the chat.
The most recent comment gave me a little laugh.
Volkov, it's almost like Bazoona's lost a few brain cells somehow. He didn't do too bad when he come in, but I'm done with Basuma personally. Big up Ryan Audio. Big up Audio. Yeah, chat saying hello. Destiny's in here. Big up Destiny 5 regular.
Yeah.
Secretly will be.
And Volkov, I don't want to talk about them lot down the road, to be honest with you. Right. So, on that, for those you don't know in the chat, and we've got 66 of you viewing us at the moment, which is excellent for a Tuesday when the football's on. I assume that a lot of you are watching the football, or unless it's over. And
it's all over
now, I think.
Into 1-2-1.
Oh, right, okay.
Thomas Muller scored. Wow.
Did he? All right.
And one of your favourites as well, Fertesi scored.
Oh, right. He is a grafter. I want him at this club, right, rather than Cardoso. But it's just subjective. We'll see what we do. I don't think we'll talk about that in a minute, right? Son, for those of you, I think we spoke about this pre-show, guys. Son, 450 appearances, 7th highest in Spurs history. You've got Ditchburn, the goalkeeper, who was a brilliant goalkeeper, 452. Hoddle, centre midfield, 490. Knowles, left back, 506. Jennings, the best goalkeeper I've seen in my life, goalkeeper, 590. Mabbott, centre back, centre midfielder. Barnick, as Bobby Robson called him, Barnick, 611. And Perriman, centre back, centre midfield, centre attacking midfield. He was like 854 appearances. And Perriman won 6 trophies. It seems amazing over a 14-year span, roughly, because he won 2 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, and 2 UEFA Cups. You just couldn't make that up. What a fantastic servant to this club. Right. We will move on to transfers and that, and we'll talk about. I want to talk about the Paratici situation, right? Rumours to Milan off. I've heard legal reasons, this, that, and the other. Do you think there's a chance he return to Spurs? I mean, people said we were in talks with him. I don't think we have been in talks. I think Levy's in constant, isn't regular, maybe not regular touch, but in touch with him because they always were on good talking terms. Blaine, do you think Paratici will come back, or do you think nothing will happen if he is going to come back until after our fate is determined by the Europa League? And we're going to win it, by the way, in my opinion. Go on, Karen.
If people don't think that Paratici's been pulling a few strings back ends, even though he's banned, you must be,
He sent his brother.
His doppelganger. Yeah. No, like I don't want Lange or Mung at this club anymore. I'm sorry. You look at the investments that we made. Okay, Gray and Bergvall, great for the future. Yes, Bergvall has kicked on a little bit more. Gray has been played out of position all year. But you look at the other appointments during that time. No. I just think Paratici will get you players that are ready for now.
Do you know?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you know, I think his actual Landrum or whatever, the return on youth players hasn't been too bad, actually. They seem to be decent at picking up prospects. But, I mean, Paratici is going to build you a better starting 11.
Yeah.
So you almost think, well, you guys sign, the young players, right? You work on that, and then Paratici does everything else. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But, yeah, I prefer Paratici. I mean, Bentancur, Decky, Romero, Vicario. Says it all really, isn't it?
The thing is, if we're going to go all-out youth, right, and I know this is going to go on to the next topic, but for me, Ange is not the guy to raise a youth team. You need somebody that's experienced with working with youth players and bringing them up through a system over a transition period of 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Ange sticks around for 2 seasons on average at the club, so he's not the man to do that. So if you're going to do that, fair enough. Appoint somebody that's going to do that. If you're going to build a team around a core unit of 4 or 5 players, Paratici is your man to do that.
Yeah, I think Paratici would work with Ange a lot better.
Dan, your take? I mean, we sort of assume that Langer's experience and knowledge is more around Scandinavian and Northern Europe, rather as Paratici's definitely Italy and probably Spain more than that. More Mediterranean knowledge based than probably Langer is. Although they're all no good players, but if you're looking deeper into leagues and through setups, you got to look to Paratici's experience with Juve all them years he was there.
Yeah, Paratici's success rate of getting us players in Italy is top notch. If you look at it like Doji, Vicario, Romero, you've got a lot of decent players from the Italian league. But I don't think there's anything in this. I don't think Paratici's come back to Tottenham, and I said this to Jose a while back. Like, the only reason why AC Milan pulled out of this is because they've been told because there's apparently an oncoming court case with Paratici. They've been told they've basically got told to pull out of it, when it was looking like it was done and dusted. Spurs were quite happy to let Paratici go to AC Milan without any fight in my eyes. The only reason why this has fallen through is not because Spurs are now back in the picture. is because AC Milan have pulled away from this. So unless Spurs decide to, in my eyes, I don't think Paratici's coming back to this club now. That's just the way I'm looking at it. So in a way, that's sad because I feel like we just lost a big part of the Italian market by losing Paratici. Sorry, mate. It didn't work in the Italian market. It's too good to lose.
But Blaine, is it really that matter? I know people get excited. Oh, you signed someone, you got him dialed down, but you got him doubled down. But it doesn't mean to say that Paratici can't still act as a consultant. I mean, if he's been doing it now and carrying on, it's just that he won't be tied down to a contract at this football club or, being
True,
an
but then how much of an influence will he have on a final decision-making process? If he's actually hired by the club, he has a bigger voice. He carries more weight at the table.
Yeah.
If he's just a consultant and Lange and Munn turn around and Levy says no, you're going to get conflicts of interest left, right, and centre. There's no cohesion. There's no absolute direction that the club wants to go. So I don't think it could work.
Do you remember?
Go on,
do you remember when Paratici first got his ban? I saw on Twitter it was like a photo of Paratici and someone's like drawn a mustache on and like put fake glasses on and goes, introducing Fabio Paratici's brother, Steve Paratici, who will be starting at the club.
Do you think Levy would want to take him back, James, knowing that we know the way Levy likes everything so sanitized at the club and politically correct, Do you think Levy really wants him back?
I mean, we're owned by a known tax evader who's going to prison for insider trading. So, I mean, Well,
he has left, doesn't he? I mean, the club is in trust for his daughter, Joe Lewis's daughter.
Yeah. But I mean, what was Paratici found guilty of? Like financial misdealings or something or other? Something like that.
Yeah, so unless he passed brown envelopes from one place to another, I mean, he doesn't actually with Juve. I mean, he probably agreed to dodgy deals more than other, but rather than physically with money.
They kept Juventus booked basically for 10 years to cover up all to do with some agent. I know it's Nedved, Paratici, and there was someone else that got done for it. I know Nedved got done for it as well. Paratici, I can't remember who the third person was, but they didn't do it. It was based over a 10-year span or something. Where Juventus were doing a lot of stuff to cook their books, basically. But they were covering up certain things. Yeah. Certain things to to reach Italian league laws. So they basically cooked their books so they could qualify for the next season. So they weren't breaking the rules, basically. They weren't breaking the rules. Yeah. Stop breaking the rules.
It's always gone on, Dan, where in the past where there's been cash backhanders to all the smooth deals, right, for players. We were involved, rumoured with Teddy Sheringham, and things like that to Brian Clough at the time. But no one wants to ruin Brian Clough's legacy. It never came out, but it was strongly linked. When Sugar first moved into the club, he said there was 20 to 30 grand of cash in the safe, which no one could really account for. You know what I mean? So that was obviously used for footballing purposes. Yeah. So that's him. Right, let's move on to the speculation, right? If we don't win the Europa League, and even if we do win it, well, two things here, right, really. Let's talk about two things which are interesting because I raised the point on another show that if you're Ange and you win the Europa League, do you say, fuck Levy and just go because you won the trophy and stuff everything else? I mean, all right, you would be throwing away 10 mil on 2 years left of your contract, but I'm not sure he needs the money. If it's a pride thing, yeah, or does he definitely go if we don't win it, James?
If we win it, I don't think he goes. I mean, we've been in the Champions League. We've had a bad season, but we've actually done all right in the Cups. We got to the League Cup semi-final. Okay, we got hammered at Anfield, but that can happen sometimes. And, if we win the Europa League, then he'd be the most successful manager, since the 80s, probably, in terms of silverware. Unless you count the FA Cup as bigger than the Europa League, which I don't personally. Yeah, I think it really depends how we do in Europe, and I think Levy almost said that in reading in between the lines in his financial statement or whatever. Yeah, he spoke about the importance of the Europa League. I mean, if we get to the final and we lose, I don't, that's tricky. But I don't know. I'm not Daniel Levy, but if we win the Europa League, I don't think you can sack him, really, can you? And then does he want to go somewhere else? Maybe, because you could say, well, look, I want a trophy. I want a European trophy. And this is a really stressful job, and half the fans hate me. So I might go to Greece or whatever, because he's half Greek and go win the league there. Don't know. I'm not Angel Levy, so who knows?
Ryan, your take. We talk about possible managers afterwards, but your take on Ange, if he wins it or doesn't win it, he goes. If he doesn't win it, obviously, I think would think, yeah. But if he wins it, does he stay? Does he just be given 6 months the next season to prove himself in the league rather than cups, or what do you think?
So this is where it's difficult, and I'm going to refer to. So I'm part of a Northern Ireland Spurs supporters club on Facebook, right?
Big up to them.
We ran a poll back. I think it was at the very beginning of January. Ange in or Ange out, and it was 80% Ange in, 20% Ange out. They ran another poll yesterday, exactly the same question. 78% want Ange out, but then they ran another poll that said, what if Ange wins a trophy? 50-50. Personally, I don't think you can sack a man if he's just brought the biggest success to our club for 17 years, right? Yeah. But my head is telling me in the long run, I have to stick to what I believe in, which is that his tactics are not right for our football club. So personally, I would say he has to go. I make no excuses. I'm very, very much an Ange outer. Whatever you want to call me, I really don't care, right? But I value everybody's opinion on this, and it's interesting that if you look across 400 or 500 people, the fan base is very split.
Yeah. Dan, does he stay or go if he wins the Europa League? Would you quit if you was Ange?
I'll do it more from the club perspective, because obviously more from my perspective, I don't really. Obviously, I'm a bit 50-50. Well, I'll say I don't really want. If you won the Europa League now, I wouldn't want him to stay here a first season no matter what. But I'll think it more of what the club will think. Yeah, if we win Europa League, there's no chance in hell that he leaves this football club. He will definitely stay, and there's no way he would walk out on a 10 million year contract with 2 years left just after winning the Europa League. I know people like to say, people think, he'll like to maybe stick up to the fans and say, look, I've won it and now I'll leave. He's not going to walk out with 2 years left and on a success like that. He'll definitely go into a third season. So basically, if he wins Europa League, he'll definitely be here for a first season. If he don't win it, I cannot see the club backing him into a third season after what potentially finishing 12th with no European football now, going into a third year. So in my eyes, it's all down to him winning the Europa League. If he wins that, the club will keep him on. If he don't win that, he'll probably be let go in the summer when they do their review at the end of the season, which apparently they're going to be doing. A lot of people have been saying that. I've heard a lot of rumours around that they're going to be doing an end of season review, and this injury thing might play a part in their review of it. They might look at it and say, look, Ange struggled with the injuries. But if he wins Europa League, he might be able to say, look, as soon as the players got back from the injuries, I started getting their fitness back. I managed to save the season. I managed to win Europa League, and that might be enough for some of these fans to back a third season. But me, myself, I cannot back a third season now, so I've not seen enough in it in the second season. And I'm very worried that if we do back a third season, we'll have a horrible start to the next season, and it might be similar to like how we did last time we had Ramos. We got Ramos, we finished 13th, we kept him, and he was gone 3 months later in November. We were bottom of the league, and then we're back to square one again. And then we have to get, we've got Harry, and then we have to go, and then that's how we got back in. And then so I look at it now, and I look at Man United as well. Man United stuck Ten Hag after winning their second trophy, what's literally 3 months into the season. So like sometimes keeping a manager just after winning a trophy isn't always the best thing to do. Sometimes you have to think, but long term, is it? Well, obviously, because we don't want to become. Obviously, we'd love to win trophies, and obviously, we want to be a team that does well win the cup. But we don't want to become this team who basically, basically sacrifices the league every year to have cup success and then start finishing 14th or 15th every year. That's when it starts becoming a problem. So like, you have to look at it as like, we can't have another season like this in the Premier League. And can we back this guy? Is the guy who can turn it around in the first season, like, and get us top 5, top 6. We've got to be fighting top 5, top 6 next season, in my eyes, no matter what. No matter what happens next season, we've got to be one of them top 5, top 6 fighting for the top. The top five realistically now gets to Champions League football, doesn't it? It's going to come efficiency. Yeah. England gets the extra spot a lot. Well, probably will a lot of the time now. So 5th spot, we should be fighting top 5, top 6. If you look at the Premier League now, other than the top 3 teams, the rest of the top 3 is very mishmashed. The rest of the Premier League, other than Arsenal, Liverpool.
I don't know so much about that. Look at the top 7 teams. You'd think they should be there. The only team missing out there who's played pretty well this season is Brighton. If you look at the top 7 now, you've got 7 you would expect to be there.
Yeah, but they're inconsistent, and if you look at it, a lot of the teams there are very inconsistent. Like Spurs, if you look at it now, I've looked at it now. I think we're in like, so I'm not going to get Champions League, obviously, but I think we're like 13 or 14 points off the top 5 here. But this season's been a very inconsistent season. Yeah, like if I look at it now, we are definitely a top 5, top 6 Premier League football club here. Every season, realistically, we should be fighting up there. So I look at Ange now and I think, is he going to be able to turn it around from where it is now to get us back to stop from 5th last season to 13th or 14th this season? Can he get us back into a top 6 fight, top 5, top 6 fight again next year? That's my main worry about Ange. Like I can't have another season like this because this season, in my eyes, no matter who won the Europa League, this Premier League season is still unacceptable. Unacceptable, in my eyes. And we've lost too many losses, too many games where we've struggled to get any sort of tempo in games. So I look at, but if basically the short answer, basically, if he does win the Europa League, the club will not sack him, and he will not quit this football club. If he managed to walk out on a £10 million contract just after winning the Europa League,
just on that, by the way, he's only on $5 million a year. It would be $10 million to pay him off in total for the 2 years.
Oh, that's what I mean.
There's another thing with that. There's another thing that apparently, and again, this is only rumor speculation from a few aggregators, right? But there's apparently a clause in his contract. If he doesn't get European football in the second season, we can let him go for nothing.
Right.
There's a great clause in the contract.
That's a great clause to have in a manager.
Daniel Levy masterclass.
Because if it was 10 mil, I think Levy would bulk at getting rid of him. Especially after
free. Do you reckon that's why they're holding back? Obviously, do you reckon why that's why that little spell where everyone was calling for his sack in like January or February, then people will start to say, do you reckon why he's only got the Europa League to hold on to? Do you reckon that's why they haven't sacked him yet? Because they know if he goes out the Europa League, they don't have to pay him off.
I'm going to come to blame. He's Ange out. I'm still Ange, and I just don't want another reset. I really don't. I want him to win this trophy. Yeah. We've only got to win 3 games. I know we're playing 5, but you've only got to win 3 of them. As long as you get a big enough score in the quarterfinals and the semi-final, you don't have to win the other 2 games. Then you win the final. But Blaine, as these are the protagonists for that have been rumoured, I haven't heard of any more. If you have, please let me know. Southgate, Silva, Frank, Terzic was with Dortmund, Areola, Inzaghi, Xavi, and Lopetegui, who did quite well in Spain before he went to West Ham. Got sacked because he took the job of the Spanish job, didn't he, and all that. But he was doing well as a coach. I'd only go for one of these, but any? Do you like any of these? Or
so if I'm saying who I like versus who is realistic, right? So we'll say who I like first. Xavi, Inzaghi, and Areola for me.
Right. Okay.
Out of those who we could probably actually get, you're looking at Terzic or Lopetegui, let's be honest. I wouldn't want Southgate. I don't think Silva improves us too much. Thomas Frank has done good bits, but he's been inconsistent again. How would he perform having Europe and all the other cups in a bigger team? Unknown. The one name obviously it's missing is Pochettino. But look, I've said my piece on it before on your stream. I'd love him back in a heartbeat.
Which could be a factor, Blaine, in the fact that even if we don't win the Europa League, that Levy keeps him for a year because Poch would be available at the end of the season.
He might be available sooner than that. Apparently, there's a lot of bad murmurings coming out of the US camp because of poor performance from Poch in the recent what was that cup they played? It was like the
Gold Cup. They call
it. Gold Cup is out right there. Yeah.
A lot of USA fans are getting fed up with him already. Like I've seen them, some of them have been like not too pleased with him already. So he might only be a couple of results away from being in trouble at USA. So I was about to say about the manager choices there. When you look at it, I think the perfect one out of all them there, if you were going to talk about the youth system earlier, about getting the best out of this project and getting the best out of it, it probably would be Xavi. If you look at the players who's going to build up with the younger players, it would probably be Xavi. I will definitely 100% not taking Lopetegui. No way in hell. Inzaghi would probably be my dream one. That's not realistic. He's not leaving Inter Milan to come to Tottenham. That's dead in the water. Areola, I'm a bit starting to become a little bit iffy about him the last. I'm not going to do it on short-term thing, but maybe I'll jump the gun a bit too soon with him. Terzic, people are going to go automatically linked with him because he's out of a job. So he's one of the more easy, attainable ones to get. but I'm not the biggest fan of Terzic because at Dortmund, but he did do quite well getting Dortmund to a final with quite limited, with a limited squad. They shouldn't really been in that final, but Thomas Frank, I think is a bit overhyped. He's doing a decent job at Brentford, but I don't think he's good enough to manage to get Tottenham to the level we wanted to. Silva, no, I'm not. Silva, I'll go more. I'm definitely taking Silva more over Frank, but I'm not really fond of Silva. Southgate's a no-no. As an English fan myself, Southgate's a no-no. I'm not spending 6 years of wanting Southgate not wanting to manage England and he should manage my club team. No chance in hell. There's no way in hell I'm having Southgate managing Tottenham. To have all them there, the one I'd probably have the most would probably be Xavi for where we're going as a football club now. But I don't know if Xavi would work with Daniel Levy because of how Xavi fell up with the Barcelona owners towards the end. Like the way Barcelona, he's a legend of that football club, and even the ownership there, is such a mess. Like he called them out quite a lot as well. I don't know if he'd have to get with Daniel. Like if Daniel Levy would interfere too much, and if Xavi would take it, that's my main worry about Xavi. Sorry, mate.
I think the issue Xavi had at Barcelona was he read every single newspaper, he read everything written about his players, and he would, in press conferences, if someone criticised one of his players, he would jump to defend them immediately. And he would go on and call the reporters all sorts of rude words. And then the benefit Hansi Flick had coming into Barcelona is he doesn't speak much Spanish, he doesn't read any of the papers, he doesn't go on social media. So people will talk about, this player, and he's like, what are you talking about? No, he's played for me. He's just like oblivious to all the criticism. So maybe Xavi would fare a bit better at Spurs, whereas it's not quite as emotional for him, and perhaps he wouldn't read the English newspapers. I mean, I wouldn't bother reading them either.
Because if you look at Xavi with Barcelona, like with Flick, it's reaping a lot of that Xavi's rewards from that team, like Yamal, Capesi. There's a lot of players in that team, like quite young players as well, that have come through Xavi's time as well. So he's got a proven pedigree. Proven younger players. I know La Masia, Barcelona's academy is a special academy, but he does do well with young players, Xavi's proven pedigree of doing it, So he's definitely someone on that list. It's probably the best solution, but I don't know if he works for Daniel Levy. That's my main issue. My main issue about Xavi there.
I'm going to throw it back to you in a minute. I'm just going to have my say on this. I would take Xavi, 767 games for Barcelona, knows football inside out, play the youngsters, was under financial constraints at Barcelona, brought Lamau into the side and all that. Wasn't frightened to play the youngsters. And I'm concerned about any manager coming in not giving our academy players a chance, right? There should be a few in the match day squad, every match day squad. The other thing that concerns me is I've been brought up. See, when we brought managers in the past, you were inspired by the list of choices. When we brought Venables in, we knew he was a superb tactician, a forward thinker. When Odell did it, he was a forward thinker. He left us, ends up at Chelsea, manages in England. He wouldn't have been there if he wasn't no good. You were inspired. We had to wait because Poch was an unknown to be inspired by him. Where are these managers on the list that just inspired you and think, oh yeah, I'll take any one of those four? This list does nothing for me, James. It does nothing.
Slim pickings.
Xavi.
I think is probably part of the issue. And I think that's maybe part of why so many Spurs fans are clamouring for Poch back. I mean, there were chants when Conte was manager. I think it's like having the hot ex, isn't it? You always kind of want to get back with her. Is it a good idea? Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe you get married. Maybe it's horrible and you remember why you broke up in the first place. But I think until we get, Spurs fans are going to want Pochettino back until he's like a granddad and he's got bald hair, no hair, and he's got a big beard or something. It's just always going to be something people demand. I just don't think there are that many exceptional managers out there at the moment. And I will say fair play to Gareth Southgate, because there is one thing I've got to give him credit for. He did create a cure for insomnia. So fair play to him for that. But yeah, I'm glad I don't support England because he is.
Blaine, aren't too many of these managers nowadays? I mean, we're looking at managers that are with less wealthier clubs than Spurs, even if a couple of them might be doing better than us at present. But to me, some of them, they go there with the impression that, to me, it seems to be, all right, I'll manage this club, but my first priority is to save my arse and my job rather than how well the team plays.
It's a fair point. And actually a name on that list that has been left out there, I think maybe it'd be a season or two too soon for him, is McKenna. I like what he's done.
He's ex-Spurs coach as well, McKenna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like what he's done there. And you look at Eddie Howe and what he's done in Newcastle as a bit of an unknown, well, not an unknown entity in a sense, but more in the sense that he was at a piss poor club. You look at when Pochettino came to us, Southampton were 14th or 15th in the league. So again, wasn't any great shakes. Do you take a bit of a risk on a lower league manager at the minute, or do you go for a big name?
I mean, whatever happened to someone like Gary Monk and Pearson, who did ever so well with Leicester before he got the sack and moved on? They went on and win the league title under the Italian manager. And he sort of built the team anyway. Where are these innovative managers out there that are tactical, astute? I mean, unless you went for a Nagelsmann or a Tuchel, if he wasn't with England, some fans might not want him because he was at Chelsea. But where are these innovative young managers who are like tactically?
My mad managerial manager I really like is I'm a massive fan of Bielsa.
Yeah,
and I don't think it'd work.
The other day, I would take Bielsa over all these on this list. I mean, he meant.
I think the perfect one's not on the list, and I don't know why he's not been on the list. He seemed to get linked for Tottenham a lot recently. I think it might be because of Crystal Palace, but I think Glasner would be a very good choice for this couple of role. So if you look at the players we're linked to, though, we've been linked to Eze in the past year as well. We've been linked quite a lot recently with Adam Walton as well. We've been linked quite a lot with Gahey as well. I've been seeing even some links in the last couple of months with that Daniel Munoz, the right back as well. That's 4 players in the last year from Crystal Palace that we've been linked to as well. They've all thrived under Glasner's system as well. And it wouldn't even surprise me in the next 6 months if someone like us gets into like a Mateta. Mateta has completely turned around his Palace career since Glasner's went there as well. I look at Glasner. I think he's someone who's not even getting any mentions on the list. Any sort of betting things or anything like that. It must be because Palace are not willing to let him go to any Premier League club at all. But I'm hearing there's links him to Leipzig. But he's someone that I would definitely look at if I knew there was availability around, if we could get Glasner out of Palace. Because if I look at the players we're getting linked to, they're all players that thrive under his system as well. Yeah, so it sort of goes to two. It maybe goes to two. It's a place that we're getting linked to quite regularly as well, like Eze, Walton, Gahey, and they're all players that are thriving playing on the Glasner. And I think the Glasner's done a very good job in Palace as well. He's 2 games away from creating history with Crystal Palace. They never won a trophy in their entire history, and they're in an FA Cup semi-final. So I look at that he could really put a benchmark down. And he's someone that's not linked on that list. And I think out of all the Premier League managers that are on that list, he's better in every single one of them. You've got Silva, Frank, Iriola. I think if you put Glasner with Silva, Frank, and Iriola, a lot of people are taking Glasner over the other 3. That's what I would do personally. I would personally take Glasner over Iriola, Silva, or Frank.
Dan, why don't we just do a swap deal back with Celtic and take Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah, I mean,
he turned us down, didn't he? And I think that sticks in Levy's craw.
There's some 31-year-old.
Someone always gets linked to the Tottenham job, though, Brendan Rodgers, isn't he? He's someone always remember in the past who's been linked to the Spurs job. So I've seen him on the list at 12, 14 to 1, and I'm still there thinking he always gets on that list. There's one day Brendan Rodgers is going to manage Tottenham. You can tell, trust, because Levy's got a little soft spot for Brendan Rodgers. He always gets on that little Tottenham. Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right. Go on, Karen. Finish what you got to say.
No, I'm not finished.
Okay, Blaine, do you think though to Levy he'd go for the cheaper option? Because let's be fair, the way we don't spend money in the right areas and the right amounts, right? You've got a situation where you pay off a manager, you bring a new manager in, you've got to give him a 4-year contract, otherwise you're not showing no faith in him, right? So you give him a 4-year contract on good money, and then you've got to pay compensation to his club, right? Which could be 10 million plus. And then you've got to pay 10 mil off range, that's 20 mil before you give the manager his 4-year contract. So
it's always a conundrum, but you've got to look at it in these terms, Adrian, right? So if we finish where we are now in 13th, right? If we manage to get ourselves up to 10th, there's your gap in between what you would pay off for Ange, for goodness sake. It's an extra 9.8 million. You've got to look at everything objectively. If you can get a manager in that's going to bring us up the table a bit more to cover what you pay in wages and all the semantics, do you know what? to me, I'm sorry. For me, he has to go. If we get knocked out by Frankfurt, I don't care who you put in. I actually don't even care about giving Mason a bit of a time. I know people say, "Oh, don't put him in," blah blah blah. But what else are you going to do? Do you just want Ange to sit there and suffer until the end of the season? And we're pissed.
Well, Matty Wells is head coach, so he should be offered the job first over Mason, because then I think he's head coach because Mason was going to go to a Belgian club, and I think he will go and get a club for himself to try and prove himself. But then
you get my point, you know.
Yeah. Then you've got Serge Romando and you've got Nick Montgomery, haven't you? The two that were in Australia. They managed Tibbs and they managed the Scottish under-20s, highly rated, but probably with no great CV, you know. So you might give it to those pair, but if Ange was sacked before the end of the season, you're not bringing no one in, are you? So it's got to be an internal choice just to manage the last games of the season.
I mean, you could have a raffle, right, and put Levy can pocket the money, and then whoever wins gets to manage for the last few games. Not a little make much
Maybe
difference.
Levy would have like a crack at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, get in it, Levy. Come on,
he doesn't know nothing about
season ticket holders in the Adrian can end up managing.
Yeah, he doesn't know nothing about football, so he might do a good job. You know what I mean?
I've won the Champions League 15 times in Football Manager. Give me a go.
These are our next fixtures. Let's move on, right? So we got Frankfurt home on the 10th. Wolves away, Frankfurt at home away on the 20th, right? So, we'll go for the predicted lineup first, right? So, and then we go through the score and we're virtually done then, yeah? So, are we going to go? We've only got a choice of Vicario and Austin because Kinski's not in the squad because we brought in Denso, Spence, and I forget again. The three we added when we took them out, we took Dragerson out, didn't we? Because he was injured, basically. So Dan, obviously Vicario and goal, yeah?
Yeah, Vicario and goal, yeah. That's the obvious one, isn't it? I think the defence picks itself. Actually, it's quite obvious the whole defence.
Well, the fullbacks could change, but I mean,
yeah, I know who I'd have fullbacks because. Personally, I'd have Spence at left back and I'd have Porro at right back. The only reason why I'd have Porro at right back is because I want Spence to play left back. Because Spence is so much more better on the left. His overlapping runs on the left as well. Is definitely one of his dangerous attributes as well. And I don't really want to see a Doji playing recently. I've not been really impressed with him. So if it means
Spence he's not been good this season. He's not been good this season. No, he'll come.
It was his fault for the Enzo Fernandez goal. I know he didn't track Enzo Fernandez's run into the box and just let him Enzo Fernandez have a free header. He's defensive. He's switching off too much this season as well. So,
he didn't have a pretty pre-season because he was rushed back into the side injury wise.
Yeah, he's definitely been rushed back. You can tell. He's definitely been rushed
back. He looked a little bit better
towards
the end of the season, but he hasn't got his mojo back. He will though because he is quality.
Yeah, I feel like he's playing 80%. You can tell. You can feel like he's holding back a little bit. You can tell. So I want to give a Doji next season, before I make a proper judgment on how he's been for these last 6 months because he's coming back from quite a bad injury in the summer. Like you said, he's not had a proper pre-season as well, and then he's definitely not hit the form that he had the first season. Definitely not been good this second season compared to so I want to give him that third season before I proper make a judgment on him because I want to see if he can get back to his. Because in the first season, you saw people were rated as one of the best left backs in the league. Like how quickly he was looking like he was going to be one of the best left backs in the league. This season he's dropped off massively. So I want to give him in that first season to see if he can get back to the same levels again.
So Blaine, definitely VDV and Romero start as the centre back pairing, but who's your fullbacks?
I'd be the same. I'd be going Spence.
Yeah, we've got to go for it. So we should go attack minded, whatever happens.
No, the only thing I would maybe suggest though is if you look at the Frankfurt side, right? Goetze plays out wide. Goetze has no pace. He's a technical merchant. So who would you rather up against Goetze? Would you rather a Doji or would you rather Spence? Knowing that on their other flank, you've got somebody that's got pace. That'd be the only caveat.
I'm not too familiar with Frankfurt. I know they're third in the Bundesliga. I know that their number one goalkeeper's out. We know that they've sold Mahmoud to Man City. So I'm a great believer when you're home. All this when fans worry about the opposition, I'm always, because I'm a bit more positive than most. No, let them worry about us. Let's impose our game on them. If it doesn't work, fine. But like, let's not worry. I mean, like, we don't know tactically at this club because the way the results have gone this season, how much Ange and the coaching staff will have looked at Frankfurt and mentioned what you just mentioned, Blaine, which is a valid point. If that guy's not got much pace, switch to fullbacks. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that.
Like Frankfurt, I don't watch a huge amount of Bundesliga. I catch bits and pieces on a Saturday morning or whatever. But from anything I've seen of Frankfurt, they play a 4-2-3-1, very very defensive, solid setup. So as you say, I don't think they play a pressing game. I don't think they play a high line. They're going to be tough to break down. So you want as much influence going forward as you can. So I think Spence and Porro is your natural selections.
You're saying back four then, and then I'll ask you another question, James. You're saying back four, you're going Spence, Porro, VDV, and Romero with Vicario in goal, yeah?
Yeah, that's probably our strongest backline, I'd say.
Okay, let me throw a little curveball into this because you never know with Ange. He said a couple of press conferences ago that Danso and Decky are a week or two away. Now, the week away got my attention, got my ears pricking up. Do you think Decky's on the bench or do you think he's fit and he plays?
I don't think he's any of the three. There was a couple of quotes from, I think Ali Gold even said it, that Kulusevski is not going to be fit in time for the first leg.
Yeah, I've heard he'll be fit for the return game, just not the first game.
Yeah. Danso, don't know, haven't heard
but we
much.
didn't expect, although it went wrong, when we played Chelsea at home, we didn't expect VDV and Romero to start, but they did.
True.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Ange is one of them with them sort of, he doesn't lie, but he's a bit coy at times when it comes to players like that starting.
But then do you drop Romero to start Danso? I don't think you do.
No, you don't do that. Well, I'm saying the only thing I think if there was going to be a change at all, worst ways you would see Decky on the bench for like second half, possibly. If we need that bit of effort, if we ain't breaking them down,
There's no chance unless 100% he knows that Danso's 100% fit. There's no chance he's risking Danso because especially now with Dragusin being out for 8 or 9 months. Yeah. We are literally down to the bare bones when it comes to right side of centre backs. So he's not going to risk Danso potentially getting a second injury again. Yeah. So I cannot see Danso come. I think Danso, Kulu, he might have more of a chance of him making the second leg if he knows he can get Kulu back for the second leg if it's still up in the air in the second leg as well because Kulu's a very vital player for us in the attacking front. But Danso, it would be mad for him to risk Danso unless he knows he's 100% fit because if he comes back and gets a second injury again, potentially gets a long-term one, like a 4 or 5 month injury, and then we're sitting with both our 2 right-sided centre-backs out for half of next season as well. That would be a massive L on Ange as well. That's what I'm saying. So he's got to play it very safe about Danso as well, and only bring Danso back when he knows Danso's 100% ready to come back. So don't be risking him coming back just because we've got a massive quarter-final that you want an extra number. You've got to be 100% sure to make sure he's ready to come back when he's fit. Because if he comes back and gets a mad injury and we're sitting with 2 of our right-side centre-backs out for half of next year, then we've got to get another centre-back, another right-side centre-back in the summer. That's without even selling Romero. We've got to sign one. And if we sell Romero, then we've got to sign 2 basically. So it's like basically think about.
All right. I'll come to James. So tomorrow's press conference will be interesting. We'll get an update probably on the injury front. James, your midfield. As you got to go in 5.
I think you got to go Bentancur, probably. Bentancur, probably the one that started against Southampton. Bentancur, Bergvall, Madison. Honestly.
It'd be good to see a regular 3 and get some consistency. Yeah. Are you with that, Blaine? Those midfield 3?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah, Dan, you're the same, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's that midfield 3.
Well, actually. Okay, so front 3. Son and Solanke have to start, don't they? It's odds on they're going to start, right? So it's just a question who plays on the right.
I think it's quite
If just Johnson keep his place for his 2 goals, he should really, shouldn't he?
And he won a penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's difficult to drop him after a performance like that. If you do drop, if you've had a brilliant game and then you get dropped, that's a little bit, soul crushing, isn't it?
The only way I see that changing is if anybody's picked up a knock or a niggle from Southampton game, but it looked like everybody finished the game fine.
Okay, we're finished with predicted scores. James, I know you got to go. Score, Frankfurt.
I'm going to say 2-0.
Dan?
I'm going to stick with what I said the last couple of days, 3-1.
Okay. So, fans tend to go for when I predict Spurs games. If they're a bit nervous, they always give us a 2-goal lead. I'm going more though. Go on, Blaine.
I'm going 3-1 as well.
I'm going 3-0. Okay, that's all good. Right. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Blaine, Dan, and James. I'm sure they'll be making regular appearances on their shows. I want to thank you all in the chat. You've been fantastic. And the 79 that are watching us, we had over 80 earlier. That's fantastic as we've had to compete with the Champions League today on a Tuesday. Obviously, a lot of you are viewing us on YouTube or on XCOM as well. So big thanks to you. Big up to everyone in the chat. Just like to let you know that as shows go out Tuesdays, Fridays and Sundays. Tuesdays and Sundays, the shows go out at 9 o'clock. EMF hosts on Sundays, does a brilliant job. Druzilla hosts on Fridays. The reason that show goes out at 10 o'clock is to attract the American Canadian audience and some of those in the Southern Hemisphere, whichever varied time zones they're at. Hopefully the time zone suits them a bit better. And Tuesday's show is obviously 9 o'clock. We do have a Facebook group, and I understand if people don't use it, that's fair enough. There's 14,500 in there, but that's because I started it 5 years ago. And most of them seem to avoid social media like the plague. I can't say I blame them, right? We're on XCOM, and you can find me under my name. If I lose this banner, you'll see it. Right, at Adrian_Schroker. We've got 3,200 followers on that. That's only been up about a year. And we've got a Spurs page, which has only got 300 on it. But that's so as that the link goes out for our shows, and our shows get recorded on Facebook as well. So if you like our shows, please, give them a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. But also, we've been going about 9 months now. We're doing okay. But if you guys could just spread the word about us here at Spurs Diehards, that would be fantastic for us. It helps the channel grow. And with that, after thanking you all once again, I shall play you out with this. You guys